Today's been a bit of a rough day. Nothing bad really happened, but I guess I was procrastinating quite a bit. I didn't really get my stuff done today that I needed to get done. And I don't know if it's correlated with it or as a result of, but I don't know, I've just been feeling a lot of negative emotions recently. I haven't been feeling so much sadness necessarily, but I've been feeling a lot of anger coming up and resentment. And it's been going on for the past week, I would say. Just been feeling I don't know. I'm just very, very irked by the unfairness I feel. Which I know I can't dwell on that. I know that's not good. But it's just the emotions that have been coming up. I'm not trying to feed into it too much. Just trying to kind of observe it and be aware of it. But it's definitely there. I'm definitely feeling it quite a bit. I've just been having these kind of intrusive thoughts come up. And I've been having a lot of dreams as well. I didn't have dreams for the first while after the breakup, honestly. It happened 2 months and a week ago from now. And I really haven't had dreams until I guess a couple weeks ago it started. And I just started having these dreams and waking up in the middle of the night. It's kind of a similar thing that happened with my last breakup. But with that one, the dreams didn't really kick in until months later. And then I start having these recurring dreams. After I felt like I had gotten over the emotional part, then it's it all came back several months later. It's weird how that works. But I guess I'm experiencing a smaller version of that right now, it feels. Where I felt like I did a lot of processing, but it feels I guess whatever mechanisms your mind has to protect you from the stress, I think it protects you, and it puts up a barrier for the first while because this is too intense for you to be able to deal with. And I guess whatever those barriers are starting to kind of wear off now. So I'm starting to have to confront I don't know, the shock is wearing off. I'm starting to realize things really are different. And yeah, that's where I'm at. But unlike my last relationship where I felt just sadness, because with that relationship I really felt I feel a lot of it was my fault. There's always two sides to every story, but I did feel I was the most at fault with that one. I was definitely really emotionally immature and very clingy. And she was kind of the opposite, very emotionally detached. And so she had issues with that, but I was pretty over the top, I guess, with just how emotionally attached I was. And so I felt a lot of regret after that. And I guess I kind of felt things slipping towards the end, and whenever she had communicated with me over text that she didn't want to be together anymore, the feeling I got was just like, oh no. Like, oh, please no. Like, just this dread, like this overwhelming sense of regret. So yeah, that was really intense. And I had a lot of sadness afterwards because I could see a lot of things that I should have done differently. But with this with this situation, I really don't feel the same way. I know that there's things that I could have done differently, and I'm aware of those things. But in the face of everything else, they feel like much smaller things. Like, I don't know, like smaller behavioral things that I know contributed to the downfall of our relationship to some extent, but they weren't major things at all. Like, I was very good to her. I treated her very well. I worked so hard for her. I sacrificed pretty much 2 years of my life for her. And as a result of me working so much and trying to commit so hard to the provider role, I know that I wasn't as emotionally available as I could have been. But I would say that she was very emotionally abusive. Very, very emotionally abusive. And while I can recognize the fault that I had, it just made it so exhausting to be working so hard, working as hard as I was working, and knowingly sacrificing all of my own wants for her, and then to come home and just be berated and belittled after I've been working for like 12 plus hours. I've been gone for like 15 hours because the commute was over an hour each way. So that really made it super, super difficult for me to want to continue to apply myself emotionally. And so that was just something that eroded slowly over time. And, you know, that doesn't mean I should have been like that. But all that being said, I don't feel regretful with this situation. What I do feel, though, is just a lot of anger and a lot of resentment that I did sacrifice so much only for somebody to string me along as much as she did and talk very passionately about wanting to get married, literally like a couple months before she cut things off. Literally a couple months before she was talking about getting married, she was talking about having kids. Her dad had texted me and said that he hopes that I propose to her soon. Can't wait for me to be part of the family officially and all of that stuff. So for her to do all those things and for her and her whole family to see how much I was putting of myself into trying to secure our future, and then for her to, all in kind of the last couple months, start to divert her attention to other people and give into that excitement and that thrill of that novelty, and then throw everything away for the 4 years we were together because she started to feel some excitement. I think that just that's a level of betrayal that I haven't felt before. And I do have I have a tremendous amount of respect for myself. And I don't mean that in a cocky or an arrogant way, but I have done a lot of things in my life, very difficult things. I've worked very hard at a lot of things. I've sacrificed a lot. I've pushed through so many things enough to where I truly do respect myself very strongly. And it rubs me very, very wrong that I dedicated myself so strongly to somebody that would just take advantage of that. And I mean, pretty much by her own words in one of our last conversations, she had pretty much said that she was glad that she met me because I showed her what she really wanted in a relationship. And she knows that I prepared her for who she's going to be with next. And that is a very sociopathic and psychotic thing to say to somebody, that you were literally saying to them you wanted to marry 2 months before that. And at the very least, short of abuse, if you were with somebody for 4 years and talking to them about getting married, and then 2 months later, you just, you have one conversation about things you're struggling with in the relationship, and then cut things off the next week after that with no further conversation, when the other person made an effort to try and talk to you and try to communicate and all of that. Like, I know that's how it goes when there's cheating involved, but it still is just such a, I don't know, such a deep level of betrayal. And that's not something you do. That's not something you should do to somebody. Like I said, short of abuse, then that's something, yes, get out, protect yourself, leave. You don't owe them anything. But when they've been trying to communicate and trying to work on the things you said, and then you don't put any effort towards even giving them time to do that, when you had just communicated the issues like a week before you broke up with them. Like I said, I know that's the case with cheating. That's usually how it goes. But it just irks me so much that I gave so much of my life to this person, and that she would do that after knowing the kind of person that I was, after knowing how I treated her, after knowing all of the things that I did for her, and her family knowing those things too. And having had a genuine friendship with her for several years. That, yeah. I've just been feeling a lot of anger recently, thinking about that. And yeah, I know it'll pass eventually, but just that level of selfishness and betrayal, that lack of character. When you thought you knew somebody for 4 years and they're willing to be so unfaithful in so many different ways and throw things away so quickly, when they know that you're somebody who has shown time and time again that you're willing to work on things, that you're constantly trying to work on yourself, that you are very receptive to communication, very receptive to critical feedback. Those are all things I had made a point to try and do. I would write things down. I would always write things down. If there's something that she talked to me about, or some issue that I thought about that I'm doing in our relationship, I would always write it down, and I would text it to myself so I would see it every day. Because I have a to-do list that I send to myself through text, so I just go through that every day. That's kind of how I organize my life. But I'd have these reminders in there of things I need to work on with myself. A few of those things where I had texted that I need to take her on more dates. That was something I was making an effort on. That was the thing we'd had a conversation about a week before she cut things off. And that was something I was actively working on. I was literally planning dates and coming up with figuring out how I could change my work schedule and work things around to be able to take her on consistent, regular dates. And another thing was taking photos. She had always expressed that she was not happy with me not taking photos of us. So that was something I'd set myself a reminder on. I'd start practicing photography, and those are all things I started working on. But yeah, I don't know. Things like this, it's not going to be fair, and it's not always going to make sense. Almost every time it's not going to make sense. But it doesn't change the fact that the emotions are still there, and you have to deal with them. So that's where I'm at right now. That's the stage in processing things that I'm going through. Like I said, I know it'll be temporary. I know it'll pass, but yeah.